Tonight, innocent victims targeted by fake police, pulled over, robbed and raided in their homes. A controversial MP vowing to fight over a neo-Nazi protest storm. A Melbourne man tasered and handcuffed on a plane in a dramatic airport arrest. A brave mum tells how scammers posed as her daughter to steal $11,000. An AFL star's call for a new rule after a brutal opening round. And later, the big switch that can cut thousands off home power bills.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. There's an urgent manhunt underway to find criminals posing as police so they can hold innocent victims hostage and rob them. Cassie Zervos has the exclusive details. And Cassie, they've stolen a car and raided a house.
Well, Mitch, they're bold and alarming crimes. In the first case, the group of 3 men and a woman pulled over a motorist, stealing mobile phones and wallets from those inside. In the second case, they used a fake warrant to search a home, terrorising an innocent family of 4 while they ransacked their home. The fake police looked the part with clipboards and fake lanyards. They were wearing suits with blue gloves, stealing a safe containing cash, the CCTV hard drive, mobile phones and wallets. They then stole the family's 2 cars, a Mazda 3 and a Ford Ranger ute. The family is too scared to go on camera but says this is an absolute breach of trust. The fake police are also accused of pulling over a car in Whittington, conducting a bogus search and stealing mobile phones and wallets from the driver and his passenger. As we go to air, 2 people have been arrested, but Mitch, 2 men remain on the run.
Cassie Zervos in Geelong, thank you. A controversial MP claims she's been unfairly condemned in the fallout over a neo-Nazi protest. Moira Deeming is vowing to fight as she faces a bid to expel her from the Parliamentary Liberal Party.
Inside the grounds of State Parliament and on the front steps.
Fine, but why does it involve taking away everybody else's rights?
Moira Deeming stood with British anti-trans activist Callie J. Keane-Minshall while neo-Nazis performed their Nazi salute on Spring Street.
I will never, ever accept any member of the Parliamentary Liberal Party under my leadership ever associating with anybody who shares a platform with people who peddle hate, division and attack people for who they are.
The usually outspoken MP was holed up inside her home today, releasing a statement condemning the actions of the neo-Nazis who gatecrashed the event. But the opposition leader will move to expel Ms Deeming from the Parliamentary Party.
Moira Deeming has had an association with people who organised the rally, along with her assistants, who have shared platforms with and viewpoints with people who promote Nazi views or sympathies.
But Ms Deeming will again rally, this time to keep her position. I intend to fight the unjust motion to expel me from the Parliamentary Liberal Party. John Pesutto says he doesn't take issue with his MP expressing anti-trans views, but wants that debate to be civilised.
We have to be careful to make sure that in our advanced democracy, there is the capacity for people to disagree. That is going to happen.
He was very happy to let an anti-trans rally take place on the steps of our parliament, attended by at least one of his MPs, until Nazis turned up.
In December, the Nazi swastika was banned in Victoria. Following the ugly scenes of Saturday, the Andrews government will fast-track legislation to ban the Nazi salute too.
There is a need for change.
John Pesutto says his party will support the move.
And state political reporter Chanel Vella has the latest from Spring Street. Chanel, it's not clear if John Pesutto has the votes necessary to expel Moira Deeming.
Well, Mr Pesutto was asked that very question today. He said he thinks he does. He does, however, have time to try and work it out because he had to give the party notice that vote to expel Moira Deeming is unlikely to happen until at least Monday. Mitch.
Chanel Vella at State Parliament, thank you. A highly decorated Australian war hero has been charged with murder over a shooting on the Afghanistan battlefield more than a decade ago. The SAS veteran has become the first Defence Force member to be charged with a war crime under Australian law.
A decorated war hero now facing charges of war crimes.
Wait! Leave! Wait!
41-year-old Oliver Schultz is accused of murdering an Afghan man in a field in 2012.
Wait, no! Wait! Stop! Leave!
He was in the Uruzgan province in southern Afghanistan. On this body cam worn by a dog handler, he's allegedly seen hunting down and shooting an unarmed Afghan civilian in a wheat field. This video will be crucial in deliberations, and a court or jury will have to decide if it amounts to war crimes.
Look, it's absolutely essential that we properly investigate allegations of war crimes by our troops, by a competent civil authority.
The arrest in regional New South Wales follows a joint operation by federal police and the new Office of the Special Investigator, set up in 2021 following the damning Brereton report. He's the first Australian Defence Force member to be charged with a war crime under Australian law, which carries a maximum penalty of life in jail. His case was heard here at the Queanbeyan Local Court within hours of the arrest. There was no application for bail, so he remains behind bars tonight and will appear before a Sydney court in May. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
A Melbourne man has been tasered and handcuffed on a plane in a flight drama that held up hundreds of travellers leaving Perth. Cassidy Moscone joins us now with details. Cassidy, it was sparked by an argument over a seat.
Yes, Peter, Jetstar confirmed the man sat in the wrong seat and allegedly refused to move. This was before the plane even took off around 6 on Saturday night. Bolik Malou is accused of hurling verbal abuse, then getting physical with airline staff who were forced to call in the Australian Federal Police. Officers say when he became more aggressive, they were forced to taser him, then restrain him. 3 officers were allegedly injured in the process. Bolik Malou appeared in court today, charged with disorderly conduct, assaulting police and obstructing a public officer. He pleaded not guilty and will fight the allegations at trial. He's also been issued a fly ban from Jetstar while the AFP investigates. If convicted, he's facing 7 years behind bars. Peter?
Cassidy Moscone in Perth, thank you. A Victorian mum has been caught out by scammers posing as her daughter to steal $11,000. She's just one of many falling victim to a new wave of scams targeting parents.
Nina Merrilees thought she was transferring money to help her daughter living in New Zealand.
The message came through, "Hi mum, broke my phone, just wondering, or just letting you know this is my new number you can contact me on." And with our daughter, that was a fairly standard practice.
After making the third cash transfer, Nina's daughter called.
As soon as I saw that number flash up, I just knew that I'd been scammed out of $11,600 and just felt physically sick.
Scam losses have doubled every year since 2020. Last month alone, Australians lost more than $43 million. Text message scams remain the most common. But criminals aren't complacent. Recruitment fraud targeting job seekers is on the rise as well.
We need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Another growing problem, deepfakes, artificial intelligence used to clone the voices of loved ones.
Think the types of phishing scams that we have all seen, more sophisticated because now you're going to get a phone call from somebody that sounds like somebody you know.
Campaigners want better customer protection from banks, but for now, Nina Merrilees is sharing her story as a cautionary tale.
My advice is to perhaps not act straight away. We thought we were pretty switched on people, and it can just happen so easily.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Latitude Financial has confirmed its cyber attack was more widespread than first feared, with the personal information of 330,000 customers stolen. The finance provider has stopped adding new customers from Harvey Norman, JB Hi-Fi and Apple while federal police investigate. The information was stolen mostly from driver's licences, but also includes passports and Medicare numbers. The company says it's not over yet and expects to uncover more stolen information in the days ahead. One of the world's biggest financial institutions, Credit Suisse, has been bailed out as a worldwide banking crisis deepens. The news sent bank shares in Australia downward, but the Reserve insists our system is secure.
Snow-capped Switzerland, as reliable as its watches and unshakable banking system. Until now, the government scrambling.
Now, the bankruptcy of Credit Suisse would have had a collateral damage, a huge collateral damage.
Troubled Credit Suisse, one of the oldest, biggest and most important banks in the world, overnight rescued by banking rival UBS, bought for a bargain $4.8 billion plus $160 billion backing from the government.
I have to state that very clearly. This is no bailout.
But after the collapse days ago of two US banks, this news has rattled world markets.
There are major moves tonight in the race to contain the global banking crisis.
Here in Australia, the ASX went into roller coaster mode, closing 1.4% down. All four big banks slumped. The Reserve Bank rushed to insist local banking systems were robust.
Markets are still functioning and, most importantly, Australian banks are unquestionably strong.
Credit Suisse once had a major place in Australia's corporate landscape. Its recent troubles saw it slip, but still...
The Credit Suisse private bank is very well renowned and is used by some of the largest Australian and wealthiest Australian families out there.
The Credit Suisse crisis, though, could have some unintended benefits here in Australia, particularly for mortgage holders, with the RBA now increasingly unlikely to raise interest rates next month due to the global economic volatility. Another bonus, analysts say petrol prices should drop. As to fears of a GFC Mark II.
But for now, I think that this situation seems pretty well contained.
Chris Reason, 7 News.
The Albanese government and unions are heading for a fight over a minimum wage increase to match inflation. It'd put an extra $57 a week into the pay packets of millions of workers, but businesses are warning it could force many to close.
It was Anthony Albanese's $1 promise.
$1.
A promise of increasing the minimum wage in line with inflation, and the Fair Work Commission delivered last year a 5.2% increase, $1.05 an hour. This year, inflation is higher, and so is the union's minimum wage demand, now seeking 7%, $1.50 an hour.
The Fair Work Commission needs to deliver an increase that exceeds inflation.
And while the government is again backing an increase,
we need to take pressure off the cost of living for Australian families because we know they're doing it tough.
This time it isn't putting a dollar figure on what that increase should be. Business warns a 7% rise would cost jobs and send some operators to the wall.
The biggest impact here is for small and family-owned businesses. They're the ones that are paying these award wages.
The unions aim to at least keep pace with inflation.
It's an inflationary crisis that's been driven by profit-taking around corporate board tables.
Official inflation is running at 7.8%, but Treasurer Jim Chalmers says it has peaked and is now on the way down, which makes the Fair Work Commission's task of determining a reasonable increase even harder. Tasmanian Senator Jackie Lambie wants another big issue addressed as well, the gender pay gap.
Trying to get women paid up to where men are out there, I think, is a good thing for society. It is the 21st century.
Initial submissions to the minimum wage case are due next week, with a final decision expected in June. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Chinese President Xi Jinping is heading to Moscow to meet with Vladimir Putin for the first time since Russia invaded Ukraine. The leaders are expected to sign a new agreement, strengthening the partnership between the two world superpowers. President Xi called President Putin his best friend during a 2019 visit to Russia. The rising cost of living is forcing the majority of shoppers to alter their weekly grocery list. Among the big casualties, meat, seafood and alcohol.
At the supermarket, it's a tough time for many families.
I've got 4 children, so our family bills are huge anyway. I look for, value, so I look at the home brands. I'm trying to do more online shopping, then I can kind of gauge the prices a little bit better. And definitely probably a little bit more frozen things because, I can't get things like potatoes.
And she's not alone. Finder asked 1,000 Australians about rising food prices and found 3 out of 4 are changing what they buy and what they eat. And the survey says we're trying to cut back. The big one, dining out, whether takeaways or restaurants, but also meat, seafood and alcohol.
And right now we're at an all-time high when it comes to grocery stress. We're seeing a number of Australians just choose to live a less extravagant lifestyle.
A lot of price jumps. I used to only spend about $100. And now I'm spending like 140 or 160.
Woolworths and Coles upping security to drive theft down.
Electronic security tags on packaged meat products. It could be extra cameras and CCTV footage.
Strong growth in the national herd means cattle prices are tumbling. And while meat prices are falling, we're unlikely to see any huge drops yet because of inflation.
It's really hurting.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Collingwood champion Scott Pendlebury wants the AFL to consider a send-off rule to help clean up the game. Chief football reporter Tom Brown has the details. Tom, Pendlebury's call comes after a brutal opening round.
Mitch, these bumps are hard to judge. Proof in point, the AFL still considering Shane McAdams' sanction as we speak. We'll have more on that in sport. There's been 3 major bumps this weekend involving Pickett and Franklin separately as well, at a time when the AFL faces 2 huge concussion class actions. Scott Pendlebury proposing a sin bin.
Watching the NRL, if there's stuff like that happens, is, they get sin bin plays, and I don't mind that for our game. Like say if Pickett was to get sin bin, so it's a complete disadvantage. Now you play 17 v 18.
For 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you go to whatever. I think it's, those non-football actions, I think we really need to treat seriously and get out of our game.
Mitch, legally executed the bump isn't dead in football, meaning the sin bin would be highly problematic. Umpires or a panel would have to make a subjective assessment during the game. That could have massive integrity implications, Mitch.
Tom Brown at Olympic Park, thank you. Tim Watson's here with a look ahead to sport now. And Tim, there's been a shock surgery case at the Whitten Oval.
There has, Mitch. The 4-pronged forward line has taken a hit. We'll have the details shortly. Also, Cats defender Tom Stewart reveals how long he'll be sidelined. Steve Smith pulls out a stunner as the Aussies come up trumps against India, and Aussie F1 star Oscar Piastri is coming home. Mitch, more on that in sport.
OK, Tim, thanks. We'll see you then. Police have been shocked by a traffic stopper in the western suburbs. Next, no engine panels, no windscreen, no back window, and it's a no-go on our roads. Also coming up, our principals under attack and at breaking point. Proof that nothing can stop love, how a couple saved their wedding day during a fire emergency. Later, an exclusive look inside Melbourne's most expensive apartment.
And we're heading into a stormy stretch of weather. I'll show you when they'll hit Melbourne later in 7 News.
A stolen car has crashed into a power pole after police tried to intercept the vehicle in the city. The crash happened just before 4 o'clock this afternoon on Elizabeth Street. A 37-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman tried to make a run for it but were arrested nearby. The driver refused to stop after police spotted the stolen Ford XR6 and the car crashed a short time later. No one was injured. Injured jockey Theo Nugent has been discharged from hospital and is resting at home after Saturday's fall at Moonee Valley. The 24-year-old avoided surgery despite fracturing a vertebrae at the base of his skull. He'll remain in a neck brace for at least 6 weeks. There has been an alarming spike in physical and verbal abuse aimed at school principals. New data shows almost 1 in 3 were physically attacked last year, and it's teachers out of the industry.
Victorian principals are at breaking point.
The toll it is taking on our school leaders is becoming too acute.
Almost a third reported being physically attacked by students or parents last year.
It's not just that they are on the receipt of physical violence, but there's been an unhealthy increase in threats.
The latest Australian Catholic University survey also shows more than half of our school leaders were subject to conflicts and quarrels in 2022, followed by threats of violence as well as gossip and slander. Almost 30% say they have been bullied in person or online.
No principal, no school leader should go to work having concerns about their health and their safety.
It's leading to more teachers leaving the industry as our teacher shortage crisis deepens and workloads become overwhelming.
Often when parents are reacting, it is because more often than not their children need additional support, and our public schools simply are not provided with adequate funding.
The timing of the survey coincides with the Victorian government bringing in new legislation late last year, giving staff permission to ban aggressive parents from school grounds.
We're hopeful to see next year that there will be further improvement indeed. But what we're calling for is an open, honest and frank conversation about who we need to be as a civil society.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
There's a new warning about lithium batteries in the home after fire destroyed a property in Sydney last night. Investigators say the blaze started when the battery on an e-bike exploded. The flames caused extensive damage, destroying a car and a garage. One occupant had to jump from a second-floor balcony. A Brighton woman has shocked police by driving a car, missing its windscreen, panels to cover the engine and its back window. She was pulled over in Sunshine North. It was the second time in a week the 41-year-old woman had been stopped and told by police she should not be driving the Hyundai Palisade. The woman earned 3 demerit points and a $740 fine. A Victorian couple saved their own wedding day when a bushfire emergency forced them out of their venue. With the help of friends and family, they relocated an entire wedding in under 2 hours and said, "I do," right on time.
There was just 90 minutes between the Elmira restaurant agreeing to host a wedding and the happy couple exchanging vows.
Like the cheers that we got from everyone was just like the MCG erupting.
Ash and Maddie Bent were all ready to get married at the Peak in Lorne on Saturday, but an out-of-control burn-off in 100 km/h winds meant the venue had to be evacuated.
Most of our staff, who are absolutely incredible, they all just grabbed what they could, threw it in the boots.
Friends and family rallied together to find a new venue, the Elmira agreeing to take on 120 guests, even though it was already full of customers.
We had our florist there who was able to get everything set up. We had the Peak down there trying to get the food into the venue.
Luckily, they got a little kitchen out the back, which we were able to use, and we're also able to set up a little bar.
We wanted to make it happen for the beautiful bride and groom. It was unbelievable that we could pull something off in 90 minutes.
Despite a minor delay, the wedding was a huge success, with guests partying late into the night. Ash and Maddie say they couldn't be more grateful to both venues and everyone who helped them pull off the best night of their lives.
Everyone came up and said this is the best wedding we've ever been to, we've ever experienced.
Flames came within metres of the original venue, but firefighters managed to save it. Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Well done to all. A doctor has been banned for 10 years following a tragic hospital scandal in Melbourne's West. We'll have the latest developments next on 7 News. Also coming up, revealed the man accused of murdering a mum in her bedroom 30 years ago. The royal family tree, a new glimpse in a Mother's Day tribute. And the Melbourne breakthrough pill promising to change the lives of thousands. A Perth man charged over the alleged cold case murder of Geelong woman Annette Stewart has fronted court for the first time. Darren Chalmers is charged with one count of murder. It's believed Ms Stewart was strangled before her body was found at her home in 1992. Police had previously offered a $1 million reward for information about the mother of two's death. The federal government is planning a crackdown on vaping with new taxes, plain packaging and tougher border security. It's believed 90 million vapes containing nicotine are imported into Australia each year and many are illegally sold to children. Vaping is now the most common behavioural problem reported in schools. A former Bacchus Marsh Hospital director has been stripped of her registration and will most likely never practice medicine again. The health service was investigated after a string of tragic baby deaths and stillbirths.
The end of a tragic chapter at Bacchus Marsh Hospital. The last practitioner linked to a cluster of baby deaths stripped of her registration. Former Director of Medical Services Lee Gruner has been banned from reapplying for registration for the next 10 years after VCAT found 3 professional misconduct allegations against her. She held an executive leadership role at the health service between 2009 and 2015, working alongside Director of Obstetrics Dr Surinder Pahar, who was connected to 19 perinatal deaths. The scandal was uncovered in 2015, following an investigation into significant failings at the hospital. The review finding 7 infant deaths between 2013 and 14 could have been avoided. Dr Gruner is now aged in her 70s. The ban will last until she's in her 80s, meaning it's unlikely she'll ever practice again. Little comfort for grieving families. Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
Overseas, 4 people have been killed in a helicopter crash in Colombia. Video shows the military aircraft spinning out of control before it disappeared from sight. In another video, smoke could be seen from the crash site. Colombia's president confirmed the crash, saying the helicopter had been carrying out a supply mission. The royal family has shared new photos on the first Mother's Day since the Queen's death, including a picture of King Charles as a baby sitting on Queen Elizabeth's lap. The Prince and Princess of Wales posted pictures of Kate and her children, wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day from our family to yours. And Bruce Willis has celebrated his 68th birthday with family and friends following his dementia diagnosis. Ex-wife Demi Moore posted this video to social media.
Happy birthday to you.
Bruce Willis now struggles to speak and quit acting last year. Melbourne researchers are hopeful a drug used to treat cancer could provide a cure for epilepsy. Monash University is about to start a trial for the daily pill they hope will eliminate seizures altogether.
Danielle Heaven takes 3 different medications for her epilepsy, but still has seizures every 4 to 6 weeks.
I've actually really never been well. I've never experienced what it is like to be seizure-free.
She has drug-resistant epilepsy, but it's hoped a daily pill of sodium selenate could stop the condition altogether.
It's a groundbreaking research. There's nothing in the world, nothing that has come even close to what we have published.
The drug was developed a decade ago to treat cancer. Now it could cure epilepsy.
Potentially then these people will be able to just take a pill for a short period of time and then their epilepsy will be controlled long term.
Epilepsy affects more than 150,000 Australians. A third can't control their condition.
It's a really, really important issue that we try and find a cure for these people who continue to have seizures despite medications.
A $3 million federal government grant means clinical trials can start in October.
So it is a drug that we know we can give to patients, and that's why the trials are able to start right away.
The study will recruit 124 people from around the country who'll receive the treatment for 6 months. If the drug is successful, it could be prescribed in the next 5 to 7 years.
The idea of a cure is really something I thought perhaps wouldn't happen in my lifetime.
Melina Saris, 7 News.
A big switch is promising to slash power costs. Next, cutting our energy bills by up to 61%. How to check the bottom line for your home. Also coming up, the shock death of an Australian actor and the new law that's got Uber up in arms. Actor Peter Hardy has been identified as the snorkeler who drowned last week at a beach in WA. Hardy was best known for his roles in the movie Chopper and Mamma Mia the musical. Witnesses tried to revive him when he was pulled from the water at South Beach in Fremantle, but he couldn't be saved. He was 66. Time now for a check on the markets with finance editor Gemma Acton. And Gemma, a new week, but has the share market had a fresh start today?
No, Peter, it's another day of reading for Aussie shares, with the ASX 200 dropping back below 6,900 points. Insurers struggled while gold miners were a rare bright spot on an otherwise gloomy day. After steadying over the weekend, the Aussie dollar has slipped back under 67 US cents, while gold is inching closer towards 2,000 US dollars. And after hitting around $130 a barrel a year ago, the price of crude oil has dived by more than a third. It's now at its lowest since late 2021. Businesses and consumers have been scaling back their usage against a deteriorating economic backdrop and ongoing energy crises. Peter.
Thank you, Gemma. Uber is ramping up its campaign against federal government reforms which would affect hundreds of thousands of its workers. The US company is launching a national ad blitz targeting politicians over plans to set a minimum pay standard and conditions for independent contractors. That would include rideshare and delivery drivers. Victorian families battling with rising power costs are being urged to ditch gas and reap the rewards. Experts say switching to electricity can cut energy bills by thousands, but there is a catch.
Throwing out perfectly functional gas appliances is a daunting prospect for millions of Australians. The upfront cost of going fully electric is a barrier for households trapped in a vicious cycle of surging energy costs.
My winter gas bill was $700 odd.
Retirees Pam and Doug Stewart took the plunge, installing $5,000 worth of solar panels, which slashed their summer bill from $600 to just $50.
We have very high power bills, so it was probably a good decision to make.
Now the couple is looking at replacing their gas cooking, heating and hot water with efficient electric alternatives. Their supplier AGL launching a new website for customers. It individually calculates the cost of switching, the savings, carbon reduction and return on investment.
And you could actually reduce your bills by 61%.
Going all electric would cost the couple $9,200 and they'd recoup that cost in under 3 years.
Electrify Now is taking your smart energy data and calculating for you the specific cost savings that you could make with an upgrade.
Swapping an old gas hot water system is a good start, with an electric replacement costing about the same.
You can be dropping your energy costs in half.
The Climate Council is calling for state governments to provide interest-free loans to help consumers make the switch.
I've transitioned away from gas and everything is all electric, and we're saving about $1,500 a year.
Energy relief front of mind as power costs escalate and winter approaches. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Sport is next with Tim Watson and Tim. Luke Beveridge's big plan has lasted all of 1 week.
Mitch, the Dogs have been hit by a surgery shock. We're live with the details next. Also, Tom Stewart shares his thoughts on the MCG turf after being sidelined with injury. The Demons force him pushing to face the Lions, while a young Roo receives a top honour. Mitchell Starc fires for the Aussies, with Steve Smith at his acrobatic best, and the multi-million-dollar putt that sparked wild celebrations. Welcome back. Round one into the new AFL season, and the bump is back in the spotlight. Returning to Chief Football Reporter Tom Brown. And Tom, Crows youngster Shane McAdam has paid a massive price.
The AFL's come down hard late this evening on McAdam, Tim. They've sent him straight to the tribunal. The recommendation, 3+ weeks, on the basis that the impact against the Giant there is severe impact. In contrast, Pickett's impact was deemed high impact. They've both gone up 2 categories, but McAdam headed straight to the tribunal on the basis that's severe impact. The recommendation, 3 or more weeks. Moving to the Bulldogs, and a significant injury blow tonight for Rory Lobb. He's been sent in for ankle surgery, will miss at least a couple of weeks. They're not putting a time frame on it yet. The context, of course, they're going for the 4 tall forwards. They're now already down to 3, and he's a high-priced recruit with an early ankle concern. And just finally, Tim, the Pies had a training session here at their headquarters late today. They're hoping for up to 60,000 fans at least against Port Adelaide on Saturday afternoon. As for Jeremy Howe, they haven't put a time frame on his surgery yet with that terrible arm injury. We'll know more tomorrow. But it's interesting, Tim, there'll be a lot of Port Adelaide fans at the MCG on Saturday. There's some advanced sales of the black and white jumper. Some of them will be wearing it on Saturday. There'll be a sea of black and white at the MCG, Tim.
Thanks, Tom. The Cats will be hoping to avoid a piece of unwanted history when they face the Blues in a blockbuster clash on Thursday night. And they'll face Carlton without their best defender.
Sidelined 15 minutes into round 1, Tom Stewart is still unsure when he'll return.
It's open-ended to a point because once the stability and the confidence comes back in my part, it's basically how much discomfort I'm willing to put up with to get back. So
a grade 2 medial ligament strain on the brand new MCG turf his coach criticised post-game.
The way I saw it, as the round went on, the surface actually got better. Our game's played at such a high speed that unfortunately injuries occur, and it just so happened that it was my turn.
His absence leaves a massive hole in defence. Sam de Koning cleared to face the Blues after this slip-up.
Walking wounded.
Now tasked with shutting down either Charlie Curnow or Harry Mackay. Geelong would be the first reigning premier since 2009 to start the season 0-2 if they were to lose.
It's not something that we as a group were proud of. History shows that our group move on really quickly, and having a 6-day break is probably going to be the best thing for us.
The Demons are hoping their 4 stars will be available for selection. Jack Viney and Stephen May the best chance to return from injury, with Bailey Fritsch and Christian Salem in the frame to face the Lions on Friday night if they get through training this week. Tom McDonald in for a check-up scan on a foot injury he suffered last year. Not such good news for Tristan Sherry, who will have surgery tomorrow for an ankle syndesmosis injury. A timeline for his recovery is unknown. While young gun Harry Sheasel has been named the round 1 rising star after a stunning debut against West Coast. Laura Spurway, 7 News.
To cricket now, Mitchell Starc has hit his straps with a bowling masterclass in India. The paceman took his 9th 5-wicket haul in one day to skittle the host for 117 in Game 2. It's perfect preparation for the World Cup there in October.
My plan probably hasn't changed for 13 years, so bowl full, hit the stumps, try and swing it.
Starc had help from Steve Smith.
Oh, taken it! What a catch this is! An absolute blinder from Steve Smith.
Mitch Marsh and Travis Head helped level the series, chasing the target down in just over 11 overs. Melbourne's Oscar Piastri will return home for the Australian Grand Prix a little bit frustrated. The F1 rookie started 8th on the grid in Saudi Arabia, but had his front wing clipped on the opening lap and finished 15th.
First home race, I'm sure it'll be a cool experience. And yeah, hopefully we can take our qualifying pace with us to Melbourne. That'd be nice, and obviously have a hopefully cleaner race on Sunday.
Sergio Perez led another Red Bull 1-2 ahead of Max Verstappen, who charged through the field from 15th. Arsenal has moved 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League table thanks to a 4-1 win over Crystal Palace.
But he does get it now, the Scott. Pulls it back! There's Saka again! If you thought they might be in trouble, 3-goal lead re-established.
In the FA Cup, Fulham led Manchester United 1-0 in the second half before having 2 players sent off. The Red Devils took full advantage, winning 3-1 to book a spot in the semi-finals. New Zealander Danny Lee pulled off this incredible putt worth $6 million to win in a playoff hole on the Live Tour in Arizona.
Danny Lee, in only his second Live Golf event, has tasted glory already. What a way to
Quite the celebration too, and well worth it. It's his first professional victory in nearly 8 years. Mitch, and if you wear black and white to the Port Collingwood game at the weekend, you're guaranteed to be a winner no matter what happens.
Exactly right. And I do like Mitchell Stark's philosophy on bowling, don't you?
Yes, just bowl straight at the stumps. Who would have thought?
Exactly. Thank you very much, Tim. A high-rise city apartment with an even higher price tag is about to break Melbourne property records. That story is coming up shortly. Also, Jane Bunn with the forecast. Jane, there's rain on the way.
Which it could be quite wet later tomorrow with the risk of thunderstorms. Full details are next.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, time's ticking for TikTok. Details on a new security review. Is a ban imminent? A journey of friendship live to Moscow as the Chinese president visits alleged war criminal Putin, and the surprising group of badly behaved tourists Bali's had enough of. All that live at 11:05.
Stream 7 News anywhere, anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.
A new luxury penthouse is about to set a record for Melbourne's most expensive apartment. It's in a set of towers being built on La Trobe Street that includes a 5-star hotel with a unique feature.
The newest Skyline edition, eye-catching twin towers and an eye-watering penthouse price. It's still under construction, but could look like this when complete. Asking price, a record $39 million. Tonight, it's under offer.
All I can say is that they are local buyers and we're keeping our cards close to our chest.
Sapphire by the Gardens has 325 apartments, 95% are already sold.
We are on level 55, so how is this for a view to wake up to every morning?
Not a bad place to start your day.
In the other tower, a Shangri-La hotel. The 5-star property still 2.5 years from completion. Just like Kuala Lumpur's Petronas Towers, a sky bridge runs between them. An engineering feat to build a floor suspended so high up.
Both towers need the sky bridge to create a rigid link between them.
And it stops them swaying in the wind.
Inside the sky bridge, the hotel's bar is taking shape, and its centrepiece is this see-through floor. I'm standing on 4 layers of glass, all up about 14 centimetres thick, and that drop below us, 40 floors, or about 100 metres.
A handful of 2- and 3-bed apartments remain on sale. They start at $1.2 million. Extraordinary views that don't come cheap. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Now here's Jane with the weather.
Thanks, Mitch. We had a pleasant afternoon if you could get out of the wind. From here, we're heading into a stormy stretch. Yesterday's grey skies lingered through the night, so it didn't fall below 15 in the city. That cloud cleared this morning to bright sunshine. Lovely if you were sheltered. In a breezy to strong southeasterly wind, we peaked at 21. Then these sheets of high cloud came across later. It was a touch warmer away from the bay in eastern suburbs in the low 20s. A few only reached 19. It felt colder in the dry and gusty air. Conditions are a bit different further north. That's where the clouds spent much of the day, with patchy light rain underneath. Not over southern Victoria for a change. So that cloud kept a lid on temperatures. It's not the usual jump up as you go north of the divide. That cloud once stretched from up near Broome right through to the southeast before it broke up. So now we have a bit of a feed of tropical moisture. Watch the high pressure system. That's going to move into a jelly bean shape, cradling Victoria here. That lets the trough sit right in the middle of it, fed by moisture from the Pacific Ocean. There is a bit of wet weather in Western Victoria as it sets up tomorrow, and the rainfall explodes as that Pacific injection comes in. Now, if you're on or east of that trough line, that is where the wet weather is. Showers and thunderstorms tending to areas of widespread rain. The jelly bean shape means the pattern is slow moving. The trough is stuck here for a few days. It'll add up over central and eastern Victoria, but particularly over the northeast closest to the Pacific. Around the nation tomorrow, that high pushes showers into Brisbane later in the day. Sydney quite dry but grey and mild. Adelaide, the slight risk of a shower or thunderstorm. Perth is sunny. To Victoria, patchy light rain and local thunderstorms. That's in the west at first. That activity will increase as it reaches central and eastern parts and clears out of the west. Thunderstorms look most widespread in the northeast, and it does tend to areas of rain. Humid air is returning. It's mild to warm in east and northeasterly winds. Closer in the morning, that is the most likely part of the day to be dry. Then showers become widespread, especially in northern and eastern suburbs, where thunderstorms are likely in the afternoon and evening. So we have a high risk of wet weather in the north and east and a lower risk in the southwestern half. The city is likely to have a wet afternoon and evening with lots of showers passing through. There is the risk of a thunderstorm too, which could bring a heavy fall if you are directly underneath. It turns humid to a top of 21. On the 8-day outlook, lighter rain may continue into Wednesday, breaking to showers during the afternoon, probably up to 24. It's still humid. 24 on Thursday, also still humid. Another burst of showers moving through, but lighter falls than we're seeing tomorrow under those storms. It does look dry by Friday afternoon, dry Saturday and on Sunday. Then there may be some patchy rain again next week. At 21 tomorrow, it's turning humid. Showers and thunderstorms developing. It could be quite wet during the afternoon and evening, Mitch, particularly northern and eastern suburbs.
Keep the brolly handy.
Indeed.
Thank you, Jane. Now here's what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, the new super road safety cameras hitting Melbourne streets.
How you are being targeted and what you need to know to avoid a fine.
See you in the morning.
And that's the way it is this Monday, the 20th of March. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.